Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's episode of Talk Exchange. Today, our guest is Fred Hargett of the Jonesboro, Arkansas chapter, and he engages in a very lively conversation with Tracy and Christy on the subject of membership. So Fred was 24 when he joined the National Exchange Club, and he has been a lifelong member. He's also become somewhat of an authority figure on the subject of membership. Just to give you some perspective, his chapter had 33 members in 2017. Today, they have 84. That's growth of over 250% in just 5 years. So this is the episode you're going to want to listen to if you have any interest in growing your membership. He's going to talk to us all about the importance of getting people into leadership positions, how to get people into leadership positions, how to engage members, and a whole host of other important topics. So we hope you enjoy today's episode of Talk Exchange with our guest, Fred Hargett.
Welcome to this episode of Talk Exchange. I'm Tracy Edwards, CEO of the National Exchange Club.
And I'm Christy Lindahl, Director of Communications.
It's so beautiful out, I think right now everybody, probably by the time people listen to this will be gone and we'll be cold.
It might be snowing.
I know. But right now it's so beautiful here and it's beautiful where our guest is located. It's so much fun.
Yep. It's hard to imagine that Halloween is just a week away.
And speaking of that, talk to us about the costumes. What can we expect to see out there?
Well, I personally have a SpongeBob and a Grim Reaper.
What a contrast, right? Between the two.
I'm expecting to see a lot of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like ketchup and mustard these days.
They are. That's the big thing. So I'm sure we'll see pictures of who pulled it off the best, right? That's fun. What else is popular right now that people might be?
Oh, boy. We're actually getting ready for the holidays. If you can believe that.
I can't believe
I know Walmart and Costco have been ready since August.
That's true.
But, the rest of us, especially in the office, we work so far ahead of schedule to get things out to the members. We're already talking Christmas and Hanukkah and Thanksgiving.
That's true. And we just came off of a big event for Exchange. We had our Court of Honor induction and inducted two wonderful people, Cotton Ketchy from North Carolina and Gib Crable from Indiana. So that was awesome to see.
What a lovely group of people we had at headquarters. It's so exciting when we get guests in and we get to show them the building. They get excited just to even see our offices because we spend so much time talking remotely. But what a lovely group of people. It was just fantastic. Everyone was so thrilled just to be there celebrating and to be together.
And we had some good board meetings and discussion and great for those people, who are so committed to Exchange to take time out of life and join us in Detroit. So it was great.
Yeah.
And here we are back at the studio. We're ready with an awesome guest who I've had the pleasure of getting to know via email because Fred sends us the Exchange Club of Jonesboro, Arkansas newsletter every week. And, I'm always thrilled by how much they do, how communicative they are, how involved they are. And then too, when you look at their growth, this club had 33 members in 2017. Today in October of 2023, sitting with 84 members.
That's crazy.
So we're here with Fred to find out what is the secret sauce. So welcome, Fred. Good to see you today.
Hi, Fred.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So tell us what you have going on this week. We saw you just had your law enforcement banquet. You had a cookout. You have these photo caption contests. You do a great job of coming up with material on a weekly basis, which is not easy.
No.
And keeping it fun and interactive for the members. So tell us what the club's doing lately.
Well, I'll go back to the law enforcement banquet that you just mentioned. That's a project that I think our club has been doing since about 1960. So we've been doing it for a long, long time. That particular project, we invite pretty much every law enforcement officer in Northeast Arkansas, or at least Craighead County, Arkansas, to a steak dinner. We honor one of the officers with a Officer of the Year award. We have representatives from the Jonesboro Police Department, the Craighead County Sheriff's Office, the Troop C, which is the Northeast Arkansas District of the State Police. We have the game and fish officers, the probation officers, just every ASU, Arkansas State University campus police are invited. So uh, unfortunately, we don't. Not everybody can come because they're either working or not working, and the ones that are
Sure.
not working, the ones that are working, sometimes they're on duty and can't slip off to eat lunch with us, and the ones that are off duty, they've been working a lot of overtime, so they like to be at home with their families when they're there. But we still had a good turnout. We had probably 60 to 70 officers there, and about 40 of
Wow.
our club members. But that's just a way that we honor them and thank them for their service to their community. Uh, uh, our our big project, I don't know whether you want me to get into this just yet or not, but our biggest project that's allowed us to, number one, increase our giving budget by about fourfold from where it was just a few years ago.
Wow, that's just as impressive as the membership numbers.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm going to give a lot of credit of the membership growth to that project because uh, the district fair in Northeast Arkansas for years and years and years. I mean, like the last probably 50 years. There's a big concession stand there that the Jonesboro JCs always took care of. Unfortunately for the JCs, 2 years ago, that group folded, and we saw an opportunity to jump in and get that concession stand. We've got a
Hmm.
lot of club members that were also JCs before they joined the Exchange Club, and we knew there was a potential to make a lot of money out there. But we also knew that it's going to take a lot of folks to run that stand. So I think last year when we first did that project, we probably recruited in the month or two leading up to the fair probably 15 new members.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because again, we had to because we weren't going to have the manpower to do that project without bringing in some new blood. Probably did not bring in that many new members this year, but it's been a great project for us. Like you said earlier, it gets everybody involved in the club.
Hmm.
Last year, I think I'm going to get these numbers wrong. I'm doing it from memory, and it's not very good these days. But I think our gross sales were about $80,000. We made about
Wow.
$60,000 net profit. Now, to give you some idea, if you go back to that 6 years ago in 2017, probably the total spending budget for our club for the entire year was probably $12,000 to $15,000.
Wow.
So you can see kind of what that did for our budget. This year, our total sales, because we knew a little bit more about what we were doing and how to plan things and how to get food out faster,
Hmm.
our sales went up to about 95,000, and our gross profit was closer to 70,000, something like that. Also, a spring project that we always do is we have an annual rib sale, and we sell racks of ribs to the community, and we got some community support from that. Used to we would make maybe 8 or 10,000 from that project. It's grown and caught on. We made about 30,000 net from that
Wow.
project this year.
Woo.
So got about $100,000 that we can give away this year, and that's just from our fundraising and the money that we make in donations back to the community. Doesn't include our dues and our dues that we pay to
Hmm.
national
Sure.
and district, but
Oh, you guys
two
are on
really great
fire.
projects for us.
That's so exciting.
It is.
Well, you know what? It just proves some of the things we know about successful clubs. Projects lead to growth.
That's
People
right.
want to be involved in something. I thought it was fascinating. Before we started recording, Fred said, when we talked about the 33 members back in 2017, and he said, well, most of those aren't with the club. Most of this club now is new people. So
Mm-hmm.
now it explains how you acquired new people because you obviously have great community awareness because you have a big presence in the community, right? So
Mm-hmm.
people know about the Exchange Club.
We do, and a lot of that's again because we've been here for a long, long time, and we've always had a great bunch of leaders in this club going back to. I was
Good.
24. Tell you how long we've been around or how long I've been here. I was 24 years old when I joined this club, and I'm a little bit
Awesome.
more than that right now. But there were a great group of guys leading that club at that time, and we've always been blessed with strong leadership in our club.
What struck me is that your law enforcement lunch includes so many different law enforcement officers in the community. The college. I honestly can't say I've ever heard of the Fish and Wildlife being invited.
Right.
The way that you reach out into the community sounds unique in itself.
Well, yeah.
So when you have
and
all
again,
these people who are natural leaders, that's why you have a good leadership pool, I'm guessing, right?
yeah, and again, that goes back to our club is always. I mean, and it goes just back to what Exchange Club is to me. What Exchange Club is all about. It's all about law enforcement, American citizenship, and taking care of your community. So we've always held our officers in law enforcement in great esteem around here, and we've got lots and lots of club members who are either retired law enforcement officers or current law enforcement officers, and it's been that way for the last 40 years that I've been around the club. So
that makes perfect sense.
Absolutely, natural leaders.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So tell us how you get people into leadership positions. It sounds like you have some natural leaders coming in, but a lot of times people are busy and they're not sure they want to take on another role. But it sounds like in a club like this, there's a lot to do. So what's your key in getting people involved?
there that's really changed in the last 5 or 6 years too, because it's like not so much in our officers, but in the people who chair our projects. It's kind of like once you become a project chairman, just out of necessity, that seems to have been a lifetime appointment to chairing that project. Because again, when you're down to, when we got down to 30 members, we probably had maybe 15 of those members who were active members and they were going to be at most of the projects and attend most of the club meetings. So back then, it wasn't very hard to figure out who was going to be in the leadership position, because everybody had one. I mean,
Right.
and guys being on the board of directors or serving in officers' positions year after year after year, but not the case. And like our current the invitation to be on the show that you sent, we got I guess 5 officers that I saw on that list, and I'm really the only guy that's been in the club of that list right now for the last 5 years. And we have 6 board of directors positions, and those guys and ladies, those folks are all relatively new members to our club also. So we're kind of changing the guard, so to speak. So, but I don't know how it is in other clubs, but again, we've got 84 members on the books right now. We usually have, and if you read the newsletters closely, I usually put attendance numbers in there, but usually around 40 or so members. So we usually have about half will attend. Some weeks we may have 50 members there. Some weeks we may have 55 or 60, and then other weeks it may be down to 35 or 30. But 5 or 6 years ago, we might have a dozen or so members there, which was kind of depressing. But
well, it's exciting now. That's exciting now. And, I think that's pretty typical of clubs because people work and, have things going on during the day. But it sounds like when you do a project, most people show up and participate in some way. Either they're selling ribs or buying ribs or serving or cooking. There's a lot of different things they could do depending on their capacity, right?
They really do. And especially on this fair project, again, 84 active members. And we had 60 plus that I could count, and people that I physically saw out there. We had at least 60 members that participated in that project in one way or another.
Nice.
We've got one man who's been in our club for probably 20 or so years. He's like me. He's getting older, but he's confined to a wheelchair now. Wasn't a lot he could do, but he wanted to do everything we can or everything he could do to help us. And what we did for him is okay, we're going to need folks to be called and reminded they've signed up to work certain shift of the fair. So he took it on himself to, hey, I'll make all the phone calls and make sure everybody shows up and find replacements if they're not going to be there. So, I mean, he could help us in a wheelchair. We had another guy show up. He just had surgery on his arm, so he's got one arm in a sling. And he said, "Well, I'll come out and do what I can." And basically, he wound up bussing tables after people had left a mess at
Wow.
the tables. He wiped them down and that kind of stuff. But yeah, we pretty much had a job for anybody who wanted to do something. And
That's really
so
key.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
of course,
Yeah.
there were other folks that I mean, they were there for pretty much all day long and flipping burgers and making hot dogs and working the cash register and just just whatever needed to be done. Everybody pitched in and helped. Just let me say this too. We started referring this time last fall uh, when we were right in the middle of that fair project. We pretty much gave it a nickname of our Phoenix Project, is what we called that club, because
Oh.
we're like, okay, this is a project that's really got everybody involved. It's encouraged us to go out and sign up new members. Plus, we got the main purpose of the project was to put a bunch of money into our treasury to put back into community service projects. So again, I don't guess it caught on as the Phoenix Project because this may be the first time I said Phoenix Project in several months, but that's pretty much what that project did for our club.
Well, that's wonderful. And I
Mhm.
know it sounds like the catalyst to a lot of the growth was that concession stand. However, growth like this doesn't happen by accident. I know the club has been very intentional. I know several times I would see things come into our office where you had a membership goal. You had a membership goal by your club anniversary, and you have, certain things you're working toward, which is key, really, if you want
Mhm.
Yeah,
to
we're
achieve
we're
those
still
things.
Yeah, we're still trying to do that, and then in
Hmm.
the newsletter, I try to keep it at the forefront of everybody's thoughts. I guess is that we do need new members, and we've had different slogans over the past couple of years, but to me, and I know y'all want to talk about membership growth, but there's a lot of things you can try, and again, I've been in the club for a lot of years, and we've
Hmm.
tried a lot of different things, different membership drives, and we've had like steak and beans contest where you split your club up into two groups, and you have a big banquet when the membership drive's over, and the team that loses has beans for supper, and the team that wins has steak. So, and we've like you'll split up into smaller groups where you maybe have 8 or 10 members in a group, and see which can go out and get the most members. And of course, we've tried ads in the newspaper, and we've put it on social media. But to me, I'm going to go back to this 5 or 6 years ago when our club membership got so low. The folks of us who were still around, we kind of put our heads together and said, "Hey, look, we either got to go get some new members, and they need to be young members when we can get young members, we've got to do it. We've got to just go out and sign up some members, and it's not going to get done by making phone calls or sending out uh, bulletins or beans and steak suppers. We've just got to go out, drag somebody in, let them look at our club, and sign them up. And fortunately for us, we had several members that stepped up and did that. Then, of course, again, you get the multiplying effect. You get a new member, and that member comes in and likes what they see, so they ask some of their friends. So, uh, like I said, it was really. I mean, it's phenomenal if you go back 3 years and look and see where we were 3 years compared
Hmm.
to where
Yeah.
we are now. Because
Well, we
I
can
don't
do
believe it
that.
myself,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
it
3
was.
years ago in 2020, you were at 35, but again, it's just being intentional. You sat around and said, "Hey, we need to do
Yeah.
something."
There was some
Yeah,
planning, some
And I'm guessing
strategy.
when you brought these people in, they felt welcome. They felt like you wanted them to be there because the key with new members is making them feel valued and like they can belong to this club, right?
absolutely, and that's the main thing you got to do too. Is once you get a guy up there, number one, you got to make them feel welcome. Then number
Yes.
two, you have to activate them. You have to give them something to do so that they feel a
Absolutely.
part of the club. And if you look back over the years, I've seen so many members that came, and I'm like, well, this is going to be a good member for our club. And then for some reason or another, they miss a meeting, and then the next month they miss a couple of meetings, and then the next month you don't see them ever again. So to me, if you can get them involved and make them an integral part of your club immediately,
Hmm.
those are the ones that are going to stick around and bring you some new members.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's working.
So, Fred, one of our hot topics right now actually is how to make your club more welcoming. It's something we've been talking about at headquarters. We've been talking about it with our leadership. So, could you tell us what that means to you when you make a potential member welcome in your club?
Well, yeah, and again, I don't mean to be critical about any of our members, and I'm going to put myself in the same group of members, and I've got as bad a habit as anybody else. But when you come to a meeting room, you don't have assigned seats, but you kind of do, because everybody
Right.
in that club, they sit over here with this group of buddies, and they really, there's a lot of times they don't interact with other club members like
Mm-hmm.
they should. More recently, many of us have tried to change that. In that, when you do see a guest, go over and introduce either when they walk in the room, or while we're still eating and before the business part of the meeting starts, or at least after you adjourn, get over there and introduce yourself to that person and tell them you're glad to see them, and make them feel welcome. So uh, I'm not great at doing that, and I don't do that all the time. And I know I should do that more often, but you absolutely have to do that,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't make them feel welcome and if you don't get them involved, it's, to me, being active in the club and being active in your attendance of the club is habitual, just like not coming to club meetings and not being active is a habit also. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to get in a good habit of coming to the meetings.
That's true. That's a good point, because it is easy to fall into. If you miss one, it's like, well, that can continue. So it's
Yeah.
it's great that you're making
Yeah,
a
just
concerted effort to do that.
yeah. I'm gonna tell a story about when I joined.
Okay.
And like I said, this was in 1977. So it was a long time ago. And I worked for a CPA firm before I got into banking, and went to work for a bank. And I guess about the time they told me they were fixing to put me to work there, the president of the bank said, "Okay, are you in a civic club?" And I had a really, really, really good friend that was a member of Exchange Club, and he'd been inviting me to join forever, and I just hadn't done it. And the bank president says, "Hey, are you in a civic club?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, would you like to be in one?" I said, "Well, yeah, I think I would." And I think most banks like to have, or back then, now banking's different these days, but back then, a lot of banks wanted they didn't want every employee in the same club. They kind of wanted to spread it around. But I told my future boss, I said, "Well, yeah, I'd like to join the Exchange Club." I said, "But I know you've already got 3 employees in that. You might want me in something else." He said, "No, we want you to be where you think you'll do the most good."
Ah,
So
good.
I joined the bank, or I went to work for the bank, joined the club, uh, went to a few meetings, and it was like we've met at Friday noon for as long as we've been in existence, which is like 76 years now. But Friday noon would come along and they'd say, "Okay, Hargett, let's go to Exchange Club." So we'd carpool to the meeting. So maybe I'd been a member like a month or two, and they said, "Can I go, Hargett?" I said, "Well, no, I'm kind of tied up. I can't go right now. I'll be there later." And they said, "No, we're going to wait on you." And so those guys, and again, they all 3 of them. One of them was a charter member of our club, but all 3 of them were members of our club until they passed on. And probably the most recent of those was probably 20 years ago. But looking back on that, I'm like, they knew how easy it would be for me not to attend a meeting if I missed 1 or 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I look back on that and I said, "Well, that was a good strong lesson you learned there, Hargett. You need to get your buddies to show up." So anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know how I
I'm
got off on that.
No,
not.
that's a great story. And you bring up a good point, because we talk to clubs about that. When members miss meetings, it's important to let them know that you miss them, right? That you
Mm-hmm.
miss them at the
Absolutely.
meeting, making sure everything's okay, because that's another way to make people
Mm-hmm.
feel welcome, right, Christy? If they feel
Absolutely.
like nobody cared that they weren't there, then they do start thinking, well, why even go if
Right.
nobody
It
cares
goes
about
back to
me?
finding that value in your membership. But in order to find that
Yes,
value, you need to feel valued. Yeah.
exactly.
It's
Hmm.
secular. So I'm curious, Fred, if you wouldn't mind explaining, how did the pandemic affect your club? Because it seems like you've come out stronger.
Hmm.
and that's crazy because
It
that's when
is
our growth
crazy.
started was in 20 and 21. I mean, and it's yeah, we kept meeting. We had some computer savvy guys. Matter of fact, our president elect is computer savvy guy, and he set up Zoom meetings for our club meetings. So even though we weren't physically meeting, we were having our Zoom meetings, and we were trying to get guest speakers so that people would want to tune in, excuse me. And so it was everybody was really excited when we finally were able to start meeting again.
Hmm.
But yeah, it had some effect, and but we came out of it stronger than before, I guess. And again, it maybe by the grace of God. I don't know how we did it, but we
You had a lot of stars aligned for you.
yeah yeah
Or you guys are just really good at what you do.
Yes. Well, I'd say a combination of both. Really, you
Mhm.
are good, great at what you do. And this has been such a fun conversation because I believe that our listeners will find it to be so inspiring and
Mhm.
give them so much hope if their club is in a situation where they need to grow. In fact, for some of the listening clubs out here, Fred, what advice would you give a club who really is at that 30 members or less and they really have the heart and the intent to grow? They just don't know how to start.
Number one, you can't depend on somebody else to go get members for you, and you got to challenge every member in your club. We need you to go out and get a member, and we need you to go get that member like right now. And yeah, somebody's got to do it. And again, our growth to me was almost unexplainable. Other than there were several folks that went up and then signed maybe two, three, four members, and I think matter of fact, the really big year growth, we probably grew by. I'm doing this from memory. Y'all got the records there, but I think we grew by maybe 30 in one year or something like. We doubled up.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure in a year. And but we had one member signed up five. We had maybe a couple that signed up three. We had four or five that signed up two. Plus, we got a more diverse group of members than what we had. And, it was like we
Sure.
were all old guys that had been around forever. And then all of a sudden, we started getting younger members who think a lot differently than.
Absolutely. And, really it's intentional, like you said, just
Mhm.
keeping it at the forefront, like you do in your newsletter, like you do in conversation. And, Christy, all the stories that we hear about how people join exchange, I'm certain we've never heard a story where somebody said, I just stumbled upon it,
Right.
right? It always takes somebody like Fred, like those club members, either asking somebody or being very visible in the
Mhm.
community, like you are with your concession stand, so that people see the club and say, you know what, that looks like fun. That looks worthwhile. I
Yeah.
want to do that.
And I don't think it's all.
Hmm.
I don't think it's all coincidence. I know, Fred,
Right.
you're giving credit to just a few of your members, but really, like
Hmm.
Tracy said, it's an intentional recruiting. You don't just invite
Yes.
somebody. It sounds like you guys follow up. You get them
Hmm.
engaged. There's a whole process, and I
Hmm.
think that what most of us miss is that we're only doing half the process.
Well, you're right. And I'm really excited. I love the fact that your community there in Jonesboro sees the value in having a club, because they know what you do.
Mhm.
They know the difference you make. And that's key too. We have clubs that just kind of fly under the radar and say, oh, we don't want to pat ourselves on the back. And that's a huge mistake because the community needs to see the value of having the club in the community, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, our club is really fortunate, and when you start talking about the other clubs in our community, and Jonesboro is, I think our population is maybe it's growing, maybe 80,000 folks in Jonesboro proper, and countywide population maybe 120,000, something like that. We have we have a lot of really strong civic clubs in our club. Rotary and Kiwanis, and
Hmm.
the list goes on and on and on, and three Rotary clubs at one time. But it's like everybody else for the past several years, their membership numbers have been decreasing, and all of a sudden ours just explode going up, and they all come to us like, "Hey, what are you guys doing over there? You get all these new members. You know, we're going down like crazy." And again, it's just it's just you just got to go. You just got to make your mind up. Hey, we're going to grow. Let's go do it, or we're gonna die. I mean, that
You're right.
that was our choice.
I just feel the urge to say, "Get her done."
I know, right? I know. And that's why we're talking to you today. We're in the same boat saying, what did you do and what do you do? But, I love that too, because communities like that are great for people, because I love having multiple service clubs in a community. That's a sign of a strong community. We always say it doesn't matter what pin they're wearing. If somebody's doing something good in their community, God bless them. We need more of that. And, there's a place for exchange from what you're saying. Even if there's 80,000 people in the community and 84 are in the exchange club and a lot of them are in other clubs, I'm guessing that at least 70,000 people aren't part of any of those, right? So there are plenty of people that you can still reach out to.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so much fun.
That was a lot of math, Tracy.
You're right. That was a lot.
Very quickly, I might add.
Well, Fred, it's been a delight to talk to you today. And thank you for sharing the secret sauce of what makes Jonesboro great. Please give our best to all the wonderful and valued members of the Exchange Club of Jonesboro, and definitely let them know you shared this with us today. What do you think, Christy?
I will do.
I love it. And Fred, I can't wait until the day I can meet you in person.
Yes.
Well, come
You're
on.
such a kind man. I'd love to just sit down and talk with you for a while.
Yeah.
And so humble. They're doing so much. We're going to make a big deal out of you, right?
Okay.
That's right. Yes.
Good deal. All right. Well, make it about the club.
All right.
We will. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks to Fred
again.
Hargett, and thanks to the Exchange Club of Jonesboro, Arkansas for being awesome. This was so fun.
Yes, it was.
Thanks, everybody.